A very good morning. Asinifisele sinimukele lemhlehlelweni masiswati lamahle simakuruthini namhla ekseni nikhethe ukuvuka nathi sevele ishayile isimbi sithupha lomhla ekseni kungilesine. It is the 20th of April 2023. Sithemba sinivuka kahle lomuhla. Good morning and welcome. Ndviselako ngulungelele Makakula Sfisa. How do you do this morning?
I'm doing very well, Lungelele. I think lokumnanzi kakhulu ngikho nje ukuthi lamoyeni solo nje kunale happy mood ukuthi itolo bekulisuku lekudalwa lemndisa. Sibonile ukuthi luhlelo kusile breakfast show livuse eBullington Gule labatayile kungena ekseni ngabo 8 laba bavuka ngetingweti itolo kutawukhulumisa lona lisuku lwemndisa lapha ehlelweni lolu siyamati Bullington. I think ama viewers eKBS amati kakhulu. He has presented the show before and ukhulume kahle kakhulu ngalo lisuku lekudalwa kulunwelelo lutse umlisa hamba ngazitha. So I think nje kuvuka kwami la mhla Lungelele so lokho kuleyo mood leyo kwathi kuphela ukuthi ezemalanga achubeka live lisetayi observe kahle independence ye live as well as yona birthday of the king of Eswatini, King of Swati the third, as a double celebration. It is not a new thing lapha kaNgwane. Siyathi ukuthi sikwendile nge4040 siphinde sakwenda following years after that. So looking forward to that, but nje kwanyalo sitaqhubeka ngehlelo lethu Lungelele namhla sisiphathelene.
Alright, lamhla sida sikhuluma kabanti nje ngedempilo era6 tabe sikhulumisana na dokotela wabantwana lasoka khona esibhedlela lapha eMbabane clinic. Dr. Charity Newton tabe khuluma kabanti nje ngeasthma in children ekakhulu kade njengoba nyalo nje sekungena bona busika. Apparently uma ngabe banemkhuhlane noma ke flu kuba iasthma yabo iyatriggerisha bese kuwelela ukutheni baba enema asthma attacks. Tabe sikhulumisana naye Dr. Newton kuva kabanti nje ukuthi kahle kahle vele yini asthma and iphatha abantwana labaneminyaka lesuka kungaki. What are the symptoms? Intimvo batala bangadenda ukuthi bakhona ku avoid ukuthi abantwana bagcine sibaba nema attacks. Ade ukuthi uma ngabe umfana ane asthma lokho kumbuyisela emuva kakhulu kade nje uma activities afa ekhathi ama sports uma ngabe sesikolweni nje soba ne attack noma sekalele soba ne attack. So we were speaking to Dr. Charity Newton about those symptoms ukuthi intimvo batala bangadenda ukuthi bavikele abantu ababo ukuthi babe nama asthma attacks.
Kanti-ke umbukeli lo loyal wekusile breakfast show ngicabanga ukuthi soyathi ukuthi njalo ngabolesine sikhulumisana nebaka Emandini boreholes. They join us again today uMagabanca Insimbi esikhombisa. They are head of marketing Balindile Masilela sits down with us to remind umbukeli a competition that they are running lenema prizes lamahle kakhulu. She will also talk to us ngebumcoko abe easy access to safe, portable and basic water as a human need, important for health and quality of life. Utasitshela ukuthi what is groundwater, what are the benefits of a borehole. She will also elaborate more on the advantage of it increasing property value, as well as how a borehole can be an asset. Looking forward to speaking to Balindile Masilela at 7:30.
All right, it's 4 minutes after 6 o'clock. Let's take a break. Nasibuya sidasa sadinza badate food Eswatini.
Pay your TV license quickly and easily with MTN Momo. Simply dial *007 *3# and select option 8 for TV license. Enter your national ID number as your reference and the amount you wish to pay. Then enter your PIN to confirm your payment. Once your payment has been made, you'll receive a confirmation SMS of your payment. If you're a first-time payer, you get another SMS for your TV license. So legalize your entertainment from the comfort of your home. Pay your TV license the easy and convenient way with MTN Momo.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
sipheleke imizuzu lesithupha solokubumbene insimbi yesithupha phinze ngikwamukele ehlelweni Kusile breakfast show sibuke indzaba lapha ekhaya liphini ilandvu nankulu Themba Masuku selundleluseke umlayeto wekufisela ingwenyama enkosini Swati wesithathu lusuku loluhlelwe kutalwa Masuku uthi ingwenyama ibelihlahlandlela ekunakekeleni inhlala kahle yesive semaswati.
Ihhovisi leliphini ilandvu nankulu litsanza kuhlanganyela nesive ukuthi silethe tilokotho nenhlonipho nekufisela nje inkosi yemaswati lokuhle nemithandazo nekubonga nje buholi bakhe wekunene kulesikhathi khona esihlalweni. Sifisela ke inkosi lusuku loluhle lolunempumelelo nempilo lenze futhi. Inkosi Mswati wesithathu ingwenyama yemaswati ibelihlahlandlela yakhomba umkhombandlela wokuthi labo labathenga usizo kusho ukuthi inhlala kahle yemaswati la ngakhona wenta isiqiniseko emnene ukuthi kube netinhlelo letibasitako letisita lawo maswati la ngakhona ukuthi akhone siyabonga sifisela lokuhle ngaphakathi lomagadlagadla wasophuza kwelejeni kamabela amahlokohlaba ethu ngaphakathi.
Kanzi-ke nemcondzisi wetinkhulumo endlini yabayesikhulu Petros Mavimbela uthi ayicetfa imisebenzi emihle leyendiwe ingwenyama enkosini Swati wesithathu ukuthuthukisa live leSwatini. Mavimbela ukuvete lokhu ngesikhathi indlu ihalalisela ingwenyama enkosini Swati wesithathu esukwini lwayo lekudalwa. Ingwenyama ihlanganisa iminyaka lengama-55 yadalwa.
Indlu yabayesikhulu seyihalalisele ingwenyama yenkosi Mswati wesithathu ngelusuku lwayo lokutalwa yaphindze yamfisela lunwele lolutse. Umcondzisi wetinkhulumo endlini yabayesikhulu Petros Mavimbela uthi kuningi lapho ingwenyama ibonakele ithuthukisa khona live.
Siyathokoza kakhulu uba nebuholi lobunjengayo ingwenyama. Sithatha ukuthi siyayibona intuthuko lekhona eveni lonke ikakhulu kusukela enhla kahoho uyophuma eshiselweni usuka ngala ngenhlanye uphuma webulo mahasha imigwaco nje into lenhle kakhulu ngiyo intuthuko lesiyibonga kakhulu iqhamuka kuyo ingwenyama. Sibuke temfundo eveni lonkana buka lapha eprimary solo ingwenyama yaba khona bantwana bafunda mahala lapha nasebafika kuma secondary noma kuma high school kulabo lokhanza ukuthi leteka mali ema-OVC grants akhona. Konke lokho siyakubonga kusho bona ukuthi buholi lobuhle bengwenyama lezivetele kona. Nalo singisho ukuthi ingwenyama ayilali ifuna ama-investors busuku nemini. Sidibonile ke tithelo tawo asakhona eveni imisebenzi iyavulwa kude longabone solo nguwo umsebenzi lomuhle wengwenyama.
Mavimbela uthi ingwenyama ibonakele ifaka sandla kutemfundo tekwakha naletinye tingoni tentuthuko yemaswati. Ndzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Themkosi Mavimbela Mbabane.
Kanzi-ke nemaswati laqhamuka etindzaweni letahlukene ayifisela ingwenyama silo inkosini Swati wesithathu lunwele lolutse. Sivele sinyenti sivete umthandazo wekuthi lo mdzala wetinsuku ayilondvolode aphindze-ke ayigcine ingwenyama yemaswati.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Njengobe silo ingwenyama yenkosi Mswati wesithathu sihlanganisa iminyaka lengama-55 yadalwa emaswati lesikhulumisene nawo avakalise kujabula nekubusiseka ukuthi aholo ingwenyama kulesikhathi abese-ke ayayihalalisela.
Senza kusho nje ngwenyameni emaswati ukuthi happy birthday Mbangazitha khula silo sikhulu.
Yebo sayithanza inkosi yethu. Sithola thuba ngelihle sithi happy birthday to the king.
Nathi sibafana bayo labancane lesihlala nakho la alobamba sijabule ukuthi ikhule.
Ngahalalisela nje Inkosi yami ngithi nalelo luthemba ngezitho.
Indvuna yelitiko letasekhaya umfana inkosi Lindiwe yamemetela ukuthi umcimbi wekugubha lusuku lokutalwa lweNgwenyama utawugujwa mhla tisitfupha enyangeni yeNyoni kanye-ke nolusuku lokugubha inkhululeko yelive leSwatini. Etindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni Nambonga Dube Kalobamba.
Ngenhloso yekukhutsata abazalwane ukuthi batikhicitele kudla, libandla leMalkans libambe umfundza sikolo wekufundisa abazalwane ngematfuba lakhona kutekulima. Ngekusho kwemfundisi Label Nxumalo, lelibandla lihlose ukuthi bazalwane bakhone kudondla baphindze batsengise. Lo mhlangano sikolo abe ubanjelwe eMalkans.
Libandla leMalkans Assemblies of God lihlanganise abazalwane ekuthenini bashiyelane lwati etindzabeni tekulima nekufuya. Umfundisi waleli bandla Label Nxumalo uthi-ke bazalwane babhekana netimo letilikhuni kakhulu ngesikhathi semkhuhlane ye-COVID-19 kungako-ke bafuna kubahlomisa.
Ubuholi baleli bandla babona ukuthi emva kwe-COVID bazalwane yabashaya kakhulu labanengi sebayahluleka kudondla phindze futhi abasenamali. Sesihlala phansi-ke siyalungisa ukuthi singendani.
Dr. Dlamini lo khulumele bazalwane uthi-ke lo mfundza sikolo ubavule emehlo.
Nalamasonto lalapha ebaleni emathayi sesifundzele ukuthi ngeke kube into ledlala abantwana. You can turn it around kube ingathi. Nemhlaba lonawo you can make something letaba profitable to your family. Kube khona lokubenefitako.
Leli bandla belimemene belibhangele Eswatini Bank kuthi-ke lifundzise kabandi ngekuthi timali tekucala emabhizinisi titfolakala kanjani. Tindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni Nambonga Dube eMalkans.
Nangabe ukweleta sikhwama sahulumende lesibolekisa imali yekucala emabhizinisi kubantfu labasha, i-Youth Revolving Enterprise Fund, kanti futhi awubhadali nabo bemtsetfo kuwe. Litiko letemidlalo temasiko nensha lelibukele sikhwama lithi selitawuya etinkantolo lithatsele bosomabhizinisi labancane labangabhadali tinyathelo. Somnotfo Thembinkosi Dube uthi akubukwe lenye indlela.
Umbiko wendlu yetimbunga ngemaphakelo eminyaka losetulu kanye nekusebenta kwelitiko letemidlalo temasiko kanye nensha eminyakeni lophelile uveta kutsi lelitiko selitawuya enkantolo liyomangalela labo labangabhadali sikhwama se-Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund. Somnotfo Thembinkosi Dube uthi akubukwe lenye indlela.
Nangabe uyishuisha i-loan lenemgomo wokuthuthukisa ubuka le-idea lo muntu uthi okay naku la afuna kwenda kutawusita yena nanaba abantu la around him but awumuphi le mali umnika but i-objective yakho akusiyi profit. So lokho ke kusho ukuthi kulesigaba lesebafike kuso laba baka Youth Fund sibhlungu lokuthi babuka imali ayibone, but lokho kufanele bakwende kumbe bangajaki noma ke bangafikile isinqumo sokuthi inkantolo. Lengicabanga sikumbe sebasendile but naba sengasendile kungaba kuhle ukuthi bayobuka lokuthi ibhizinisi yami yetingulube njengoba ngisithi ngiyofuya dona iwiswa yini, is it business management, is it vele ngagabzela kule business yami, ngoba le proposal yami nayifika okufanele i-evaluate ukuthi i-potential yayo yokusebenza inganani.
Amaphephandzaba alapha eveni ake abika ukuthi kubhadalwa kwalesikhwama beku-32.8% nakuphela umnyaka lowagcina ngeminyaka lophelile enyangeni yeNgci. Imetamo yendiwe kutfola labaphethe lesikhwama kuva ukuthi ngumalini lokwelwetwako noko abakatfolakala elicingweni. Tindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Thembinkosi Mavimbela nginaThemba Shabangu eMbabane.
Umdulamphahla pheceleti i-inflation ubhekeke ukuthi ukhuphuke lapha eveni kutsemadvutane. Lokhu kuvetwe ngusomnotfo walapha eveni Thembinkosi Dube ngesikhathi akhulumisana netinsatheli talomsakato ngekukhuphuka kwemdulamphahla eveni leNingizimu Afrika. Dube uthi bathengi abanake indlela labasebentisa ngayo imali.
I-Statistics South Africa ikhiphe umbiko ngalesibili ekuseni loveta ukuthi umdulamphahla eveni leNingizimu Afrika sewukhuphuke wasuka ku-7% waya ku-7.1%. Live leNingizimu Afrika ngulona live leSwatini lelithengiselana nalo kakhulu kunalamanye. Somnotho walapha eVentem Nkosi-Dube uthi lokukhuphuka kulela live labomakhelwane kubheke ukuthi kube nemthelela lapha eSwatini.
As a country laseSwatini lelingenza impahla letiningi lichamuka eNingizimu Afrika. Singagatha ukuthi nathi kube khona ukukhuphuka kwemdulambahla njengoba batawupota esikhatsini lesidaba. So we might expect to see a rise. Yebo ngetinto lesti-importa from South Africa, but kuphindze kube nethi letinto letikhona lakhaya lesitiboni letikhuphuka nje kuyo lenyanga. Ngiyakhumbula ukuthi igesi ukhuphukile nakusuka lenyanga 10%. Kwaba khona futhi ukukhuphuka kwapetrol, yebo diesel wehlele but ukhuphukile petrol. So leto tinto leto tinawo umthelelo ukuthi singagatha ukuthi umdulambahla nala eSwatini ubonakala ukhuphuka. Vele sewuyabona nawe lo mehluko na uthatha nje ibasket uya lapha esitolo uyabona ukuthi letinto bengivame ukuthenga kumbe ngaDisember akusafanani nanyalo. So singiloko lesekugatsile ukuthi bapote base statistics office ngemdulambahla.
Libhange lelikhulu lelive iCentral Bank of Eswatini liveta ukuthi umdulambahla lapha eSwatini uku5.3%, noko kusatawuvakala ukuthi nawutawukhuphuka utawuthini. Dube uthi eMaswati akathengela kudzingako kuphela akugwemene kuncika etikweletini noma ke kubolekeni imali ngenxa yekudula kwempahla etitolo. Tindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Themkosi Mavimbela nginaThemba Shabangu eMbabane.
Inhlangano yesiphambano lesibovu seyibone bumcoka bekunakelela ngekwengqondo ti-70 tayo. Kulandzela ukuthi tidibana netimo letahlukene tisanika lusito lwekucala. Lenhlangano ilethele bachamuka esikhwahlande kutoluleka ngekwengqondo tona ti-70 talenhlangano yesiphambano lesibovu ehotela le-Happy Valley eZulwini.
Ti-70 tenhlangano yesiphambano lesibovu tidibana netimo letimetima naletibucayi letinyeke letiphatamisa ingqondo tisasebenta. Kungaleso sizatfu lenhlangano yitfole bodokotela labati kabanti ngekusebenta kwengqondo, kweluleka leti-70 nekutigcinisa engqondweni, kanjalo-ke nokuthi lusito lokweluleka ngengqondo lufika njani kulabo labaludzingako lolo sito labadibana nabo-ke basasebenta. Umchumanisi wenhlangano yesiphambano lesibovu nesive noNtobeko Mbuyane uthi basanika lusito esiveni tinengtimo labengca kuto. Kungako-ke babone ukuthi ababite labo labati kabanti ngekusebenta kwengqondo nabo-ke sebathi kubafundzisa kabanti nekuqinisa tingqondo tabo.
Kudeke sitawukhona kuniketela lusito ngendlela legculisako noma lekahle, kufuneke nathi sicijiswe ngekwengqondo sibe bantfu nasi abaphilile engqondweni labaphindze futhi ba-understanda nekuthi lo muntfu lokuleso simo so kusimo lesinjani ngako kwengqondo ngabe usesephilile noma lesimo sesimlimatile naye engqondweni. Sinabochwephesha bato tindzaba kubuka tingqondo labatawukhona ukuthi basicijise baphinde futhi basisita ngako ukuthi ingabe nathi siba labaphile njani engqondweni sisaphuma nje siyosita lapho sisita khona etehlakalweni.
Tindzaba tekuphela kwengqondo-ke timcoka kuwonke lokubalulekile-ke ukuthi wonke umuntu akuthole kululekwa kwengqondo ikakhulukazi ngemuva kwetimo tsite letilukhuni. Kubika Giyani Msibu naSimuva Shongwe sise-Happy Valley eZulwini.
Sikhwama selidlelanivongeni sesiceceshe ti-70 taso ngekusebentisa indlela lensha yetebuchwephesha leseyisebenziswa ngilesikhwama sisachuba umsebenzi waso. Leti-70 tifundziswe kabanti ngekubamba lizinga lemhlaba ekusebenteni ngetelidlelanivongeni. Kanti-ke lo msebenzi ubanjelwe ehhotela lase-Happy Valley eZulwini.
Kulandzela kucala kusebentisa tebuchwephesha esikhwameni selidlelanivongeni, lesikhwama-ke sifundzise ti-70 taso ngalendlela lensha yetebuchwephesha. Cabangile Dlamini uthi basikhwama bafuna kungasaleli emuva ekusebenziseni tebuchwephesha njengoba nemhlaba sewahamba ngalolo nyawo, nabo-ke babona ukuthi njengoba sevele bacalile abatifundziseke ti-70 tabo ukuthi yini ledzingekile nalekumele bayati nale batawukusebentisa kusachubeka-ke tona-ke letindlela letinsha tekusebenta ngebuchwephesha.
We have a change management committee siyingapane la khona sithaskela abo bantu ukuthi bagijime nalo msebenzi wekwenta siciniseko sokuthi wonke umuntu uyakhona ukugijima kahle nalo buchwephesha lesesigijima ngabo sidlelanivongeni. Ema-resources akhona kwekucala njengoba ngisho nje ukuthi i-resource lenkulu kuba kuyona labantu lesisebenza ngabo. Kwesibili-ke ku-digitize vele kuta nale element yokuthi sekunciphisa kwawona lama-resources bese kufuna uwasebenzise kuze ngidakubekisela nje nangabe malunga ethu itolo bekufune ema-ofisini ethu asebenzise amaphepha kutofayile ama-claim abo etimali tabo tedlelandlungeni. Nyalo sithi lokho sale bakwenda kubongcondo mshini lokusho ukuthi le mali le besiyisebenzisa itolo ukuthenga leli phepha bebaklema ngalo seyitawuncipha.
Kusebenzisa ubuchwepheshe-ke kutawusita ukuthi umsebenzi lo wentiwa ngolesikhwama kulokunye ugijime kanti-ke nokusebenta kwamaphepha kube yinto yayitolo. Kubika Giyani Msibi ngasimuva shongwe sise-Happy Valley ezulwini.
Bantfu labasha bakalanga babonga inhlangano lenakekela abantfwana labanganabani i-SOS ngekubakhela lihhoko letinkhukhu labatalisebentisa ekufuyeni tinkhukhu labatiphilisa ngato.
Bange-34 bantfu labasha labatawuzuza ngesakhiwo selihhoko letinkhukhu endzaweni yakalanga. Lensha itsi lesakhiwo selihhoko sicalo setintfo letinhle timphilweni tabo.
Lelingaweli noma ngangibani kepha-ke liwela labo labanenhlitiyo lefuna kuba ukuthi batibone babantu labaya phambili.
Nanyalo nje ungakacali wona ukuthi kube naletinkhukhu ngemgcibelo sidalana sibe busy kuyenteka ngalesinye isikhathi ukhanzeka ukuthi kuwutelele sikwendako lokuphathelene nalesakhiwo but siyakhona ukuthi sicushisane sibonisane la sibonisana khona. Lo msebenzi nasocalile ke vele ngoba imali besathi uthi phambilini uyakamlungu ukuthi ngikaliphepha but nyalo naloko sinalo sawukhona ukuthi sithole khona imali.
Sinayo shemi imakethe.
Labantfu labasha-ke babonge inhlangano lebukete inhlalakahle nekukhula kwebantfwana SOS ngekubabona bangilabafanele kutfola umusa ngekwakhelwa lelihhoko. Umbiko uhlanganiswe ngithembelihle Magutshwa Kalanga.
Sivese emphakathi wakalanga sibonga inhlangano yaka-Thirst kanye neyaka-Cospe lekutinkampani ngele tibalungisele tingwedle bekadze tingasasebenzi. Lesive sithi indzawo yakalanga ide imifula lokwenta ukuthi kube medima kutfola emanti nasetingasasebenzi tingwedle. Tingwedle letilungisiwe tilinganiselwa kuletisikhombisa kulendzawo kunembiko.
Sive sendzawo yakalanga sibonga lusito lesilitfolile ngekulungiselwa tingwedle lebese tingasasebenzi. Lesive sichaza ngebulukhuni lebesihlangabetana naso kutfola emanti ekudla.
Kwetinye tenkosi ilusito ngangokuba nyalo nje sekucala busika emanti ayashabalala ayaphela la ehlanzeni kube bede ngisho manje ke imbora ilusito kakhulu ngangokuba siyakhona kunatha sikhone ukuwasha ngoba angathi ukuthi nango kube bekude emanti ngabe lembora ngabe silamanti siwathathaphi.
Ehlanzeni nje akunamanti side nje ngisho umfula alana ukhashane kakhulu kule embuluzi. So ke lamanti ebholi ngona sita kakhulu ngoba wona akasiyo laphela kona akafanani nalawa empompi ngoba lawa empompi into yakuzabuka emapipe kwenteke lokho nalokho
kakhulu vele sasihlupheka kakhulu ngale bhoholi kwase iyinye ikhashane kanti lena ingcono iJordani naleli eminye imidi siyasisita kakhulu mba nami siyakhona kuphila siyakhona kwenta konke ngoba ngaphandle kwemanti kude lesingakwenda.
Kuba nemanti lahlobile kuhambisana nemagoli yakamhlabala khonsako ligoli lesithupha lelikhuluma ngekuthi wonke muntu kufanele abe nemanti lahlobile. Umbiko uhlanganiswe ngithembelihle Magutshwa Kalanga.
Mishek Zwane longumqeqeshi wegaluva kubadlali labancane aphinza abuke emalungiselelo emqhudelwano lowatiwa ngekuthi yi-Nobuhle Dlamini Junior Golf Challenge. Uthi babuke ukuthi lo mqhudelwano walonyaka ungenelwe bantfwana labangetulu kwa-100 labachamuka kuto tonke tifundza telive. Zwane uthi emalungiselelo ahamba kahle futhi nebantfwana bakhomba kutimisela.
Kusele malanga lambalwa nje kuphela kuthi umqhudelwano lowatiwa ngekuthi iNobuhle Dlamini Golf Junior Challenge uqale. Lo mqhudelwano wasikunyiswa nguye Nobuhle lekangumdlali weligaluva wakuleli. Kanti-ke uhlose ukuthuthukisa lo mdlalo kubadlali labancane. Abantwana abatawungenela lo mgcizelwano bachubeka nemalungiselelo abo eMbabane Golf Club. Meshakizwane lobuke emalungiselelo alo mgcizelwano lophinzeke futhi abuke luhlelo lebadlali labancane labadlala ugaluva uthi amalungiselelo ahamba kahle.
Bamfana bamisele kakhulu. They're preparing for Nobuhle, and we must also thank Emma Nomads for their continuous support, making sure that the kids stay playing. Our target is 100 kids or more for Nobuhle Golf Day because it's a major for them. So it's their biggest tournament. It's one of their biggest tournaments. And Bamfana Bam idolizer. Just a few minutes ago, I had a video call with her, and they just wanted to see her face, telling her that they are excited, they can't wait for next week. So it means a lot to us as Bokoch. At least we have the idol that lebanga khona we parts angetandla than my idol emoya.
Badlali labangenela ke lo mgcizelwano eminyakeni lophelile lebatawuphinze bawungenele nalonyaka bathi iyawulala ibonene lonyaka.
This year I want to be at least number 5-4 so that I can reach Nobuhle's stage.
Yes, I've been training a lot, hard work. I'm a man who believes in hard work. So I've been training a lot for the 2023 Nobuhle Championship.
I am actually hoping that maybe one day I'll be just like her and go abroad to play golf.
Lo mgcizelwano utawucala mhla tingemashumi enyangeni lesetulu eRoyal Swazi ezulwini. Umbiko ohlanganiswe nguLington Gule naFabrice Msonera eMbabane.
Ngaleyo ndzaba yema-junior golfers siyatigoca tindzaba tetfu talapha ekhaya sibahlola imakethe ngesimo selitulu uma sibuya lungelele sits down nebaka clinic group. Don't go anywhere.
Ayithi unabhuza kwezinde masibekela mgungudu weinbondo ziphumule njeni ngabe enkomeni izisabani awulila ngaphesha kendvulo khombe emaswati wawulila ngaphesha kendvulo khombe abalodolozi siguduza kumnyama kuhlule sigidigidi sakamaphobane mswati umiphiqile ngisho ngale sikhunule semnyama engani sibashisile abakhwetele indase blon ngalo zithakala nqabani.
Management and staff of Swazimed would like to wish His Majesty King Mswati III a happy 35th birthday. Long live Your Majesty. Bye, te, wena phakathi.
All right, welcome back to Kusile Breakfast. Kusile now Losanza Gusvulila Besvedili earlier Guti. We were speaking to Dr. Charity Newton from Babane Clinic. Sidi tabesukulma kabandige enge tifo de banvana njoba Dr. Charity Newton Dr. Webanvana. Today's tabesukulma kabandi nge asthma in children. We'll be talking about the signs and symptoms banvana labane asthma, sibuga kabandi ma risk factors, sibuga na triggers ukuthi inting for the tugarisha banvana ukuthi babe nema asthma attacks. And of course ngapha nje mhlambe ema remedies noma lifestyle badala kumele bayiphile nabasekhaya kodwa batawuvikela abantu ababo ukuthi babe nema asthma attacks. Sisivele sinaye lapha Dr. Charity Newton from Babane Clinic. Good morning and welcome, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think before we get into today's topic, just a bit of introduction of yourself. What is a pediatrician? Yini kahle kahle umsebenzi wadokotela wabantwana?
Siyabonga. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm a pediatrician
And pediatrician doctor lo specializer in the care of children from the time when they arrive to when they become adolescents. So it's a doctor lo bukete gugula kwebantwana in summary. Yeah.
Okay. So namhla sibuka sifo, I think mhlambe sifo nje lesile singathathela phansi, but sibonile ukuthi vele bamfana siyabaphatha even adults as well. Yini kahle kahle i-asthma?
So as an institution sibone ukuthi kumcoka ukuthi we raise awareness on asthma because asthma is one of the chronic illnesses in children. Masibuka tibalo taka WHO kuyasitshela ukuthi about 20 to 30% of children banayo asthma, and it's quite common than we think of it. Yet kungako ke sibone ukuthi kungcono ukuthi we raise awareness and talk about it.
So speaking of ama-stats nje siselapho you khuluma nga 20 to 30%. Ingaba vele mhlambe la Eswatini kubukeka kunganani nje bangaki nje bamfana mhlambe labana lesifo?
Okay, asinato tibalo leti exact taseswatini, but we know ukuthi it's been on the rise, especially this time in winter where kusekunimikhuhlane that would be known as a trigger yokuthi bamfana babe nama-asthma attacks. So kusifo njengoba ushido kusifo lesi sithathela phasi kanti ngiso kanye lesenta ukuthi bamfana bangayi esikolweni bangakhona ukuba productive because of lesifo lesi. Kungako sifisile ukuthi we can demystify some things about asthma and also offer advice ukuthi mawunemntwana lone asthma, what can you do to make sure ukuthi asthma is under control.
All right. So I want us to get into the symptoms. What are the symptoms of asthma and asthma attacks? Asthma attack, and at what age do they start showing symptoms?
Okay. Usually they start showing symptoms at infancy stage, so 2 years, 1 to 2 years. Siyibona ngani asthma? Siyibona ngekuthi ube nemikhuhlane leminingi. Imikhuhlane yakhona iba worse entsambama nase early morning. So le cough leyo lokukhwehlela lokungapheli lokuthi ebusuku kakhulu khanse ukuthi ngalesinye isikhathi kupheletelwa wheezing, that umsimvo longathi ushaya ingwela inside the patient's umphana ebusuku in particular khanze ukuthi kwenza ngalapho umphana akasakhona ukuphefumula. So the earliest symptom kukhwehlela lokungapheli lokwenteka ebusuku nasekuseni.
Okay, so kumele ukuthi bese wenda kanjani, because I read somewhere ukuthi some parents use Vicks Vaporub, you know, to rub their children on the chest. Does that help? Mavele mhlambe vele uthi ngale medical treatment aye esibhedlela bona ngudokotela vele kube nale diagnosis ukuthi vele une asthma and kumele ukuthi athathe medication ethile.
Absolutely. Once sibona ukuthi umfana unetimpawu te asthma, which is the cough, the nighttime cough, lokukhwehlela ekseni, wheezing, that child needs to go to a hospital. A healthcare giver wake and a formal diagnosis of asthma. Kumniketa the other treatments will not really help because mau sithi une asthma sisho ngesiswati sisibita ngokuthi sifo sesifuba. Lapho khona emaphayiphi alama lungs asolen ayavuvuka ukhanze ukuthi akichita nemafinyila kanengana wona. So to treat it, we need treatment that goes to the lungs to address lokuvuvuka kwala maphayiphi lase in the lungs.
Okay, so ngifuna ukuthi question Dr. ukuthi is it genetical, because I know of a family that all its members have asthma. So ngifuna ukuthi vele is it possible ukuthi vele the entire family can have asthma kusukela kubabe kuya kumphana wegcina ekhaya?
Okay, we were going to get into the risk factors. My risk factors ukuthi umphana abe ne-asthma, they are even higher when umphana obuya family lapho khona batali bakhe bane asthma. So in a way it is inheritable. But also you can still get umphana lo ne asthma but kube nguye yedwa ekhaya. So there is association with family history, but also sometimes bamphana bangayithola abe nguye yedwa lo nayo, where we say une inheritance, what we call atopy, where it's a condition where you are likely to be allergic to things.
Yeah, ibangwa yini yona kahle kahle nje lokuthi nje umfana nje so yakhwehlela vele sonale asthma, what causes it?
So there's no known cause kudele singakuthi nangibangela wako lo semsungule out yetfana. But there's many factors. One factor being that you coming in family history yakhona, it's important. Uqhamuke ekhaya lapho khona kune asthma. Two is when you have allergies. So umfana lunabo eczema, lunabo asthma comes in from a family of allergies. So once you have allergies somewhere else, like so nabo eczema, utsandza bayathi bamvu sinusitis, noma ushikisha amehlo ayaluma kakhulu, you would be a person lo ne high risk yokuthi uthole asthma. Kubomake ke lababhemako as well, umfana sesemncane, exposing them to smoke, yi-risk factor yokuthi umfana angatfola i-asthma. The world that we're living in, which is urbanized, you can say there's dust, there's fumes, there's lots of industrialization that put a child with asthma in the long run.
Okay. So is it possible ukuthi umfana mhlambe atshengise lama symptoms at a later age, later than the 2 years lokhu manje ukuthi labanye baqala ukuthi mhlambe nasekana i-teenager nje, so yaqala ukutshengisa ama symptoms kuyenteka lokho.
So you can have adult onset asthma as well. So but often than not, where they should raise a question mark. 1 week is treat umkhuhlane, the following week is treat umkhuhlane. We need to have a question mark because now it doesn't have to change times meaning yakhona kudlala ngigijime but ebusuku sekelala sakhona ukulala because umfana soyahwiza soyakhwehlela. That cough should raise suspicion because is this a cough that's coming from asthma.
Okay, so what then happens if umdala decide to ignore onke lama symptoms lawo lomkhuhlane, the wheezing for a longer period? Bese kwendekani kulomfana la ngekhathi? Does that trigger ama attacks noma abangoyinve kahle lama attacks?
So if that happens, it's unfair on the child, and we really want to come out and boldly say, if leto timpawu tikhona, please visit your nearest healthcare provider. Assess umfana unayo asthma, because the complications are that umfana, one, utawuba nema asthma attacks. Asthma attacking lapho khona letimpawu setiflare up, umfana angasakhona ukuphefumula. That is dangerous. Some children have had to go to ICU. Some children have actually died because of an asthma attack. So kuyingoti kuhlala nayo singayilaphi kahle. Besides that, then we put lompana in a risk of permanent lung damage. So lompana lo sangasakhona ukuphefumula kahle because this condition has not been controlled. So kumcoka ukuthi once we make a diagnosis, we start this patient on treatment. So that our goal is what? As a child, your memories are all about playing and going outside. Umfana lone asthma akakhona ukwenza lokho. Uyagijigijima nje so cala so akasakhona ukuphefumula because emaphaphu akhe are not able to help him do that. So you rob the child of a proper childhood memories and their exercise, but also ukulela safuthi akasakhona ke esikolweni, akasakhona ukubamba kahle timvo because akalali kahle ebusuku. The sleep is not sufficient. So for that child, we are robbing opportunity for the child to say, but also it's risky because we know asthma can cause death.
Okay, so lama attacks can happen at any time. Can they happen during their sleep? I think ucotha kubeda nje indzaba ukuthi mangabe bathi baki look exercise nje kancane emaphaphu sekalimala sebaba nale attack. How often do they have these attacks?
So it would depend from one patient to another, but the attacks are common ebusuku nabalele and early morning. Sometimes we were going to talk about triggers. Triggers is what bring out lama symptoms nangabe une asthma. Say maybe unemkhuhlane, kulamalanga nje imikhuhlane miningi bamfana bayakhwehlela. So if it's a child lone asthma atfola umkhuhlane, that would be a trigger ukuthi angaba ne asthma attack. Asthma attacks siyibona ngani? That early night, the earliest symptom is the cough, sengichazile. But if we ignore the cough, then we get the wheezing and then umntwana akasakhona ukuphefumula. That's how we would define an attack. The triggers would be the viral infections, the dust, allergies aloyo mntwana loyo. If mhlawumbe allergic to mold or usenze inja kanti lo boy allergic kuko, that would trigger an asthma attack.
Yeah, I think nasibuya nje mhlambe esikoleni, I think baba they have a very difficult time at school ngalokuthi vele bokuthishela nabo kumele ukuthi bahlale babanaka na ukukhuluma nje ngedust ukuthi I think kumele badlalele khashana nedust ma sports activities abakhona ukuparticipate ngalokuthi sengonekwendeka abaguli babe nama attacks ingabavele leyo mfana loyo kube sokumlimata kanganani nje kuparticipate kuma activities.
So that's what we need to demystify. Ukuthi umntwana lo ne-asthma akakhona kwendema sports. Umntwana lo ne-asthma longekho treatment will not be able to do that. So that's why we need to put emphasis ukuthi umntwana la netimpawu te-asthma asendi diagnosis phela. Sibese sicala treatment ngoba injongo yethu yini ukuthi umntwana khona ekudlala ngoba sok treatment. So yes, we can't cure asthma, but we can control the symptoms. We want to make sure ukuthi umntwana has a fruitful, productive childhood by engaging in all these activities. Futhi noma ayihlangana nalama environmental allergens, lamanye alama allergens ngeke sikhone kwa keep out of the environment. Say umntwana allergic to grass, there's no way ukuthi sitamthatha umntwana simfake ebhodleleni angathinzi utshani angathinzi dust, but masemcala treatment sendela ukuthi umntwana akhone in that environment to be able to control the symptoms.
Okay, so the treatment kuba yini besides the spray?
Yeah. Besides the spray, did you say that?
Yes.
Treatment. So that's one other thing we need to demystify as well. The moment you talk of Emma sprays, they feel like, yo, Emma sprays, Emma sprays. Those are all wrong stories. So we need to come out and emphasize the treatment that has been shown to be effective. Go asthma ebampaneni. Nema asthma sprays.
Pelage.
So okay. Asthma sprays, they are effective. They go straight to the lungs. Sisebenzisa ama dosages lamancane, therefore the side effects are even small. And we need to also emphasize ukuthi masikhuluma ngala sprays, sikhuluma ngama sprays lang 2. One spray is called a preventer, which is a steroid spray. Ngilelezi vama kuba in a brown canister. Bengithi ngikuphethe, but it's not here with me. In a brown one. And then the blue one, which is quite common. The blue one is called a reliever, meaning umntwana usisebenzisa nakambe uvalekile uqinene noma uyakhwehlela ebusuku. Less brown is the backbone of the treatment because ngiso lesitakwenza ukuthi umntwana angabi nalama attacks. That's why we call it a preventer. So lokusho ukuthi make noma babe usisebenzisa kumntwana noma umntwana yakhwehlela noma ngenatimpawu ngoba sona sendani, it's the preventer. It's to prevent the attacks. And if asebenzisa kahle sikhathi lapho khona doubting ukuthi asebenzise le less blue siyancipha because we've been preventing it. Yeah. So the mainstay of treatment of asthma in children and even in adults becomes the asthma sprays, nothing else.
All right. Njengoba usho nje dokotela ukuthi vele udele ukutoconzisa kahle ema myths kanye enemaqiniso. Kunetinkhulumo ukuthi kunemijovo lesanjiswako kulapha sona sifo sa asthma. How true is that?
It's not true. It's not true. Mhlambi imijovo lebakhuluma ngayo would be imijovo let's ukuthi siyifake nangabe umphana so admittive. So ne asthma attack, so kumehlulile kusebenzisa spray, so sesibhedlela so luqinene. That's when we would put imijovo letawenda ukuthi lokuvuvuka lokusemaphasheni kwehle. But injongo yokutreata i-asthma ukuthi lo mntwana angagcini vele asesibhedlela because we don't want those asthma attacks. Angithi must prevent her. It will make sure ukuthi umntwana visits the hospital less and less and less if we do it the correct way.
Okay, sisiya nje ngasemaphethelweni doctor. I think kufuna kuva nje the lifestyle lekumele ukuthi iphilwe badala, especially ekhaya kunesiqiniseko sokuthi umfana lona asthma unakekelekile, akabi nawo lama asthma attacks. Yini mhlambe timbile kumele batali batende in the household ukuqiniseka sokuthi konke kuhamba kahle, umfana aka exposeke nje bovetile kuma cigarettes. Ingabe vele mhlambe yini, what is the perfect lifestyle?
So a lifestyle uyemfana we-asthma is being, cognizant of the allergic triggers lata wenda umfana bene asthma. So one of them being smoking. If you have a smoker in the family, iyambeka at risk umfana ukuthi angaba ne-asthma attack and actually even develop asthma. So siyagwema ukuthi mntali, if you're smoking and you have an asthmatic child, you have to quit smoking because that's a risk factor as umfana angaba ne-asthma attack.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Doctor. Sikuthola kanjani ke mangabe mhlambe sifuna ukwenza appointment nawe sido veta abamfa bethu sibende a check up?
Yeah, and before I actually answer that question, I also wanted to show the viewers ukuthi for children kuye kube lukhuni ukuthi sisebenzise lama sprays and just go directly. So we use this tool which we call a spacer, and you put in your asthma sprays at the back, so it's as easy as ABC. We put in the asthma sprays and you cover the nose and the mouth with the mask if kungumfana lomncane. Otherwise nasakhona kutiphefumulela, there is one that does not have the mask. So you put in the asthma spray at the back, you close off and make a seal, you spray in and you just make 6 to 10 respirations, 6 to 10 breaths, and it's as easy as that. We are explaining umfana before we actually use, so that umfana to cooperate. Maybe on a toy color, and then you put it on. And when that asthma is diagnosed as you need to discuss with your healthcare provider. Would say yini plan treatment plan yale patient, which then we are explaining like it's the preventer and the reliever spray.
All right. Quickly, your availability at the clinic. The parents would like to make an appointment with you.
So I'm now at the clinic group based at Mbabane Clinic, but I do my outreach to Manzini Clinic as well on Tuesdays and Fridays.
All right. Thanks so much, Dr. Newton. Information on asthma. On Tuesdays and Thursdays in Mbabane Clinic. For a diagnosis, no a checkup. Manzini Clinic.
Yes. The other days I'm at Mbabane Clinic.
Okay. Yes. So I'm telling Manzini Clinic, no Mbabane Clinic. Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor. I'll be a traffic update.
Lesi sikhathi lapho khona emaphoyisa agubha kuba khona kwawo eveni.
Kulapho kukhuthazwa khona sive ukuthi sike sihlale phansi sibuke bumcoka bemaphoyisa empilweni yabantu. Siphindze sibuke indlela letinsha tekuphepha kubo bonke bucala lobuveta sihloko. Sive sakangwane siyakhunjutwa ukuthi singawafaki emaphoyisa etinkulumeni tepolitiki ngoba liphoyisa alingeni futhi alingenelani nepolitiki. Emaphoyisa alwa nebucala netingoti temgwaco kuphela nje. Ingako emaphoyisa athi wonke umuntu eveni akahlale ngaphandle kwekunceneka ukuthi angahle ahlaselwe tilwane tasendle. Umuntu lohlala Eswatini akatiphilele atisebentele ngaphandle kwekwesaba kuhlaselwa kwemucwa nekucekelwa phansi kwembahla yakhe. Nawe wena lophathekile, emaphoyisa athi digulele kahle uze uphile ngaphandle kwekuphatamiseka. Lokungenteka ngekuthi tidlova tingene tihlasele labo labakunakekelako kuleyo ndlu. Sive lesihlakaniphile nguleso lesiphakamisa kusebenta kwemaphoyisa nabo bonke labalwa nebucala. Ngale kwaloko timbungushe tiyawuwangenela emazinyane kungenamuntu ekhaya.
Lo mlayeto niulethelwa ngemaphoyisa eMbube abambisene nomsakato wetithombe.
Using an ATM is a simple process. You simply insert your card, punch in your PIN, and withdraw your cash. However, This simple process can open up you and your finances to some dangers. So it is very important that you proceed with caution when using the ATM and never share your PIN. When approaching the ATM, it is very important that you have your card ready, either in your hand or in your pocket, so that you do not waste time going through your belongings, either your wallet or your handbag, as this will give opportunities for thieves to act. Thirdly, put your money away immediately. Don't give anyone an opportunity to grab your cash or your card after a withdrawal. Lastly, always take your receipt after each and every transaction. It is important that you get your sleep after every transaction because it contains crucial information about your balances, and that may lead you to be a victim of bolandela. Be cyber aware, be cyber smart.
Welcome back.
Look at it, you just have spoken to Baga Clinic Group nendzaba asthma. I think le pick up nansakhuluma lokho ngithusa kakhulu indzaba yokuthi it's a myth lokho ukuthi abantu labane asthma angeke babe khona kuba active. Ngikhule mina, I had a friend who was very asthmatic. Bese thina siyodlala ema-sports but ekhaya kubo lona asifuna dlala. So he would always watch us, and kungisabhlungu lokufunza lamhla ukuthi he was actually robbed off his opportunity to socialize and
To
grow up
partake,
nathi
yes.
akhone kuba njengathi sonke.
Yeah, I think
Because of a myth.
we addressed earlier, Dr. Newton's first say there are actually two sprays. Alama asthmas, there is the brown one, lay preventer, yeah, spray every day, and then there's the blue one. Leyo ke seyiyalama attacks mawuthi ukuthi khanze ukuthi uba nale asthma attack, but nje I think ushide ukuthi balekele ukuthi batali vele babe nawo lama sprays oyi2 benesiqiniseko sokuthi bamphana bayayisebenzisa lena le brown kude batotivikela ukuthi bangadi khanzi sebaba nalama attacks. I think balekele sifo lesi ngathi sisathela phansi like nje
Kakhulu.
Yeah,
Lokho ngithusile nje ngilama triggers ukuthi nenja ingaba yi-trigger ukuthi engxenye
so allergic,
allergic to,
netshani,
you know, it does, but I think it's also kuhle lokho ukuthi akuchacisise Dr. Newton ukuthi akusho lokho ukuthi sebatakuvalele ebhodleleni ukuthi awusayi ku-dust, awusabi nato tinja. Kusho nje ukuthi there are certain preventative measures or certain measures longawathatha kwenta siqiniseka ukuthi lama-triggers lawa akasheshe abekho, you're not that susceptible.
Yeah. And also what she talked about you can have asthma mangabe it's genetical, which is ukuthi mangabe a family member no your parent probably your grandmother bekane asthma, now it's highly possible ukuthi ube nayo asthma. So balekile ukuthi it's important to look out for the symptoms of it. Some of the symptoms ngumkhuhlane lokukhwehlela kakhulu ebusuku and also wheezing ukuthi umntana aphefumula ngazothi ngathi uyahona, yes. So ushido ukuthi some of these symptoms abonakala as early as the age of 2. So it's important ukuthi mangabe umntana akho mhlawumbe ukhwehlela kakhulu ebusuku noma ke unaloku phefumula ngathi uyahona, kumbalekile ukuthi umixe kudokotela atocala i-treatment. Ushido sifiso indzaba yemjovo ukuthi kude umjovo i-treatment nje asthma spray nje kuphela.
Kakhulu ukuthi akucacisise lokho, but I think lokunye lokumcwathi sik-emphasize sikahambile edokotela ukuthi le asthma ayidi nje kuphela nge-association ye-family history. Umntwana angavele abe nayo. I think it's important ukuthi ku-emphasize lokho because lo munye umbukela ngathi hawu njengoba la khaya kude lokwake waba ne-asthma, umntwana mina kahwiza ngento kanje uyadihonela. Uyabona, uyakhwehlela, bonke abantwana bayakhwehlela. Seyikhona nje lento leyo ukuthi abantwana abanyalo bayakhwehlela nje, abasafani nathi thina besikhula amaswiti siwabuthe phasi siwadle, imidimba yethu yakhona kwakhe ama-antibodies lapha sebasheshe bagule. It's very important ukuthi labo dokotela bedelana ukuthi sicacisa ukuthi wethwana lethu ngoba udokhanza ukuthi umntwana akho sonayo leyo asthma, but unekuba ignorant wena ngoba ucabanga ukuthi hayi ukhwehlela njengabo bonke, uyahwiza ngoba sowulele. But labantwana abahlolwe, akuconsultwe labo dokotela siqinisekise ukuthi bantwana bete asthma.
All right, it's 5 minutes before 7 o'clock. Kanti ke bekubheke ukuthi sikhulumisane nalaba sokumaphoyiseni kusinketha sithombe sesimo semgwaqo. Kanti ke ngelishwa asikhona ukuchumana nabo namhla ekseni. Sicelise kakhulu kepha kwanyala sibahlala emakethe sitawubuya sichubeke ehlelo.
The Umbutfo Eswatini Defence Force and the Ministry of National Defence and Security would like to wish His Majesty King Mswati III, the Commander-in-Chief, a joyful and prosperous 55th birthday. Bayethe, wena waphakathi, khula Mlisa.
The Board of Directors, Management and staff of the National Maize Corporation joins the Indlovukazi and the entire Eswatini in congratulating His Majesty King Mswati III on his 55th birthday celebration. You are prestigious among many. May your life keep exuding glory and honor. Bayethe, wena waphakathi.
Pay your TV license quickly and easily with MTN Momo. Simply dial *007 *3 hash and select option 8 for TV license. Enter your national ID number as your reference and the amount you wish to pay. Then enter your PIN to confirm your payment. Once your payment has been made, you'll receive a confirmation SMS of your payment. If you're a first-time payer, you get another SMS for your TV license. So legalize your entertainment from the comfort of your home. Pay your TV license the easy and convenient way with MTN Momo.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Good morning and welcome back. It's a minute after 7 o'clock. Let's take a look at international news. Conflict in Sudan has provoked global calls for a ceasefire, but questions remain how other countries can persuade combatants to lay down arms. U.S. officials in Congress and the White House say they are using Washington's status and limited leverage to try to make peace.
Fighting has raged in Sudan's capital since Saturday, as two of the nation's power players battle for dominance, with civilians caught in the middle. The top U.S. diplomat said he delivered a message to the heads of the Sudanese armed forces and the paramilitary rapid support forces.
This morning, I made calls to Generals Burhan and Hamedi, urging them to agree to a 24-hour ceasefire, to allow Sudanese to safely reunite with their families, and to obtain desperately needed relief supplies.
General Abdel Fattah Burhan joined forces with General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, better known as Hamedi, to mount a 2021 coup. But they then turned on each other. And earlier this month, protesters took to Khartoum's streets after talks on a transition to civilian governance stalled. The White House says it is working hard to bring about peace, but declined to say what the consequences would be if the warring parties didn't listen.
We've been very clear about the importance of de-escalating, and you've heard Secretary Blinken speak to this. You heard my colleague from NSC speak to this as well. And so I'm just not going to go beyond to what they have said.
U.S. lawmakers familiar with the continent say the stakes are high.
I have not given up hope that there is still a path towards
an end to the violence, but we need to prepare for the very real possibility that Sudan is about to descend into all-out civil war. My concern is that this may quickly become a proxy war.
Analysts say the U.S. has little room to maneuver. Washington's ties with Khartoum have long been strained, and the U.S. suspended assistance to Sudan during the 2021 coup.
Well, I think the challenge here is that the leverage that Washington has left is not leverage that it wants to put on the table, and that's the use of punitive measures. I think for the last 6 months, you've seen Washington, and even since the coup, using an engagement strategy and an incentive strategy to try to bring the generals around to relinquishing power. The problem is that in Sudan's history, these generals don't have a history of responding to incentives. Just like they govern the country through fear, intimidation, and their own punitive measures, that's what they respond to themselves.
Kuhn says this needs to be a team effort.
We do have some leverage, but there's other players in the region that also have a lot at stake and some leverage, and we need to work with them in close coordination.
That work has begun with the Arab League, Egypt, and the United Nations all saying they will work towards peace. But how soon can they put out the flames in Khartoum?
The streets of Sudan's capital, Khartoum, were largely deserted Wednesday as fighting between rival factions battling for control of the country entered a fifth day, with people staying at home to avoid being caught in the crossfire. Most of those who were venturing out were doing so largely to find food at one of the few stores still open.
Streets that would normally be choked with traffic lie deserted. The Sudanese capital, Khartoum, looks emptied of its inhabitants. Since the start of clashes between rival troops led by General Mohammed Hamdan Daglo and Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the local population are holed up at home. With supplies no longer getting through, finding food has become a challenge. Those businesses still operating, like this bakery, are quickly besieged by residents.
في فرن واحد لا مويه لا كهرباء الدقيق فيه ولا اي حاجه موجوده لكن ما في مويه ما في كهرباء عشان يشتغلوا يعني ده فرن واحد لستة حياشو.
This grocery still has some canned food and dried goods, but shortages are getting more and more frequent.
الظروف كانت مفاجئة، الكهرباء ما في، مويه ما في، بحري لا 4 يوم ما في مويه، الناس كلها لا في باغات تسوي في المويه، ده غير انه الوضع كان مفاجئ، ما في زول كان جاهز. ايوه ما في موارد، هسه شايف هسه السوبر ماركت هسه في اغلب الحاجات ما في، الناس بتدور عليها مع انه يا دوب الليله ثالث يوم.
Many have fled Khartoum for southern provinces that have been spared the clashes. A truce had been agreed to allow the city to be evacuated and supplies to get through, but there has been little follow-through on the ground. Each side blames the other for resuming hostilities. Before the outbreak of violence last week, hunger affected 1 in 3 people in the country. NGOs and the United Nations have warned that without a resolution, that figure is certain to rise.
Tunisian authorities closed the offices of Islamist-inspired opposition party Ennahda on Tuesday, a day after arresting its leader, Rachid Ghannouchi, a senior party official said.
First, its leader was arrested, and then its headquarters were raided overnight in the capital, Tunis.
In a clear violation of the freedom of political parties to operate and organise, Ennahda's headquarters are currently being cleared out, in principle for a few days, in order for the authorities to search the premises.
According to local news reports, the Interior Minister has banned meetings at Ennahda offices across the country. The latest developments come a day after Ennahda's leader, Rachid Ghannouchi, was arrested over charges of incitement. Official sources have confirmed that Ghannouchi's arrest was linked to recent statements he'd given to the media.
Tunisia without Ennahda, without political Islam, without the left, or without any component of its political life, it's a recipe for civil war. It's a crime.
The 81-year-old has been detained in the past and interrogated over charges including money laundering and funding terrorism. Since the start of February, the Tunisian authorities have arrested more than 20 political opponents and figures. Despite President Kais Saied's insistence that those who were detained are a threat to national security,
We respect the law. We do not want to cause harm to anyone. but we will not leave the state as prey in their hands.
His critics accuse him of using the fight against terrorism as an excuse to revive autocratic rule in Tunisia, which was the sole democracy to emerge from the mass protests of the Arab Spring over a decade ago.
Fox News on Tuesday agreed to pay Dominion Voting System $787.5 million in an out-of-court settlement over its coverage of false vote rigging claims in the 2020 U.S. election. The settlement means Fox avoids a trial that could have seen some of its best-known figures, including Fox Corp Chairman Rupert Murdoch, called to the witness stand for questioning.
Lengthy libel trial averted, but only because of one of the biggest settlements in US history. Just before opening statements were due to be delivered, Fox News settled with the company whose voting machines it said had helped rig the 2020 US presidential elections. Dominion Voting Systems had sued Fox for $1.6 billion for spreading false claims on air. Fox agreed to pay $787.5 million and acknowledged some statements it had broadcast were false. Lawyers for Dominion hailed the settlement.
The truth matters. Lies have consequences. Over 2 years ago, a torrent of lies swept Dominion and election officials across America into an alternative universe of conspiracy theories, causing grievous harm to Dominion and the country.
By settling, Fox avoided a lengthy trial which would likely have seen its boss, Rupert Murdoch, and several high-profile presenters take the stand. Dominion had uncovered text messages between Fox staff that it said proved the channel had willfully lied about the election.
Fox and Dominion have reached an historic settlement. Fox has admitted to telling lies about Dominion that caused enormous damage to my company, our employees, and the customers that we serve. Nothing can ever make up for that.
The settlement reportedly spares Fox from making on-air admissions that it lied to viewers about the 2020 election. The current lawsuit is only the beginning of its legal woes related to the election claims. Another tech company, Smartmatic, is suing Fox for $2.7 billion in another defamation case, while Fox also faces legal action from its own shareholders.
Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel was all set to clinch a second 5-year term via parliamentary vote on Wednesday as the sole candidate in a country where political opposition is illegal.
No one's holding their breath in Cuba as the incumbent president and only candidate prepares to begin his second term in office. His election will be confirmed by a parliamentary vote, with 470 lawmakers either belonging or sympathetic to his Cuban Communist Party. Diaz-Canel came to power in 2018 after 59 years of the Castro brothers. He promised to modernize Cuba's economy but remain faithful to socialism.
Cuba will not veer towards capitalism and will make no concessions to those who, in their many different ways, want to draw us away from the historic internationalist values.
A first term marred by crises, COVID, shortages and inflation, which hit 70% in 2021 and 40% last year.
It seems to me there's a bad context for him to be re-elected. This country is not improving. It's going backwards, not forward.
Fuel, electricity and medicine in ever shorter supply.
Diaz-Canel's first term as president of Cuba has been problematic, with the coronavirus pandemic, a steady economic crisis, and perhaps most importantly, his legitimacy being openly contested in the July 11th, 2021 riots.
Indeed, after a series of power outages, thousands of Cubans took to the streets in 2021 over poor living conditions and constant shortages. Hundreds were arrested and charged for their involvement. The island nation has been subject to a US trade embargo since the 60s, intensified by new sanctions announced by Donald Trump in 2018, leaving many countries afraid to trade with Cuba.
Some polls suggest Erdogan's support is low, but analysts say an election defeat may not be enough to win Turkey long-sought EU membership.
With Turkey's economy in crisis, presidential challenger Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu is ahead in many polls of incumbent President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, promising not only economic reform, but also a diplomatic reset with Turkey's Western allies.
Some of the relations, such as with the United States, with NATO, with the EU, is going to come back, since a Western orientation is no doubt going to be one of the first priorities of the new administration.
Erdogan's deepening ties with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, with energy deals and purchases of Russian weapons, are straining ties with Turkey's Western allies. Turkey, a member of NATO, is also blocking Sweden's membership bid.
Thank you so much.
Some analysts say that Moscow sees Erdogan's foreign policy as an asset.
It's not perceived by Moscow as a pro-Russian. It's perceived as a pro-Turkish and quite very tough pro-Turkish. But it's also not perceived as pro-Western. I guess that is the main aspect that fits into agenda in Moscow.
Turkey is heavily dependent on Russian energy and tourism and cooperation in Syria. Analysts say untangling ties with Moscow will not be easy.
It would be tough to balance relations with Russia, no matter what, given the economic interdependency between the two countries. So one would hope for a renewed and better relationships with the EU in terms of the green transition as well, for example, so that the Russia relations can also be rebalanced again.
Turkey's poor human rights record caused its European Union membership bid to be frozen long ago. Relations are now more transactional, like Ankara's EU deal to host migrants in exchange for cash. Kılıçdaroğlu is vowing a new constitution based on rights, which he says will allow Turkey's EU bid to go ahead. But observers question whether Turkey's Western allies are ready for such a diplomatic shift.
Neither Washington nor Europe is prepared for a post-Erdogan world. Eventually, they have to be willing to offer something back to a new government, whether it's a strategic conversation, restarting EU membership talks, or even resuming the transatlantic alliance with Turkey as part of it.
Analysts point out that Turkey's Western allies were surprised when Erdogan's AKP party stormed to power in 2002. A Kılıçdaroğlu win, they say, could again see diplomats scrambling.
A Russian court has refused to release U.S. journalist Evan Gershkovich from jail while he awaits trial on accusations that he spied on Russia while on a reporting assignment last month.
Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich made his first public appearance in a Moscow courtroom Tuesday after being arrested nearly 3 weeks ago on espionage charges. The 31-year-old reporter asked to be detained under house arrest while awaiting trial, but the judge ruled that he must remain in jail. Gershkovich's Russian lawyer spoke to reporters after the hearing.
He would like to prove that he is non-guilty, and he would like to prove that there is place for freedom of journalistic.
U.S. Ambassador to Russia, Lynn Tracy, spoke to reporters after the hearing.
I can only say how troubling it was to see Evan, an innocent journalist, held in these circumstances. I was able to meet Evan yesterday at Lefordova prison. It was the first time we were granted consular access since his wrongful detention more than 2 weeks ago. I can report that he is in good health and remains strong despite his circumstances. We will continue to provide all appropriate support to Evan and his family, and we expect Russian authorities to provide continued consular access to Evan. The charges against Evan are baseless and we call on the Russian Federation to immediately release him.
Russia claims, without producing evidence, that Gershkovich was caught red-handed while spying, collecting what it claimed were state secrets about a military-industrial complex. The Wall Street Journal and the U.S. government have rejected the charge of espionage, which, if he were to be convicted, carries a sentence of up to 20 years in prison. The U.S. State Department last week declared that Gershkovich is wrongfully detained. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre condemned the Moscow court ruling and also called for the immediate release of U.S. citizen Paul Whelan, whom the U.S. has also designated as wrongfully detained.
Look, we're deeply concerned by the news that Russia will continue to wrongfully detain Evan following a sham judicial proceeding today. And that's what we saw earlier today. The Biden-Harris administration is engaging with Russia through every available channel to bring Evan and fellow American Paul Whelan home, who is also a priority for us.
I am innocent of any charge resulting from this potential kidnapping.
Former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan has been held in Russia for more than 4 years. The U.S. says both Gershkovich and Whelan deserve to go home to their families.
Sweden is still waiting for Turkey to approve its application to join NATO. As Henry Rigel reports, Sweden hopes the upcoming Turkish elections, scheduled for May 14, could be a turning point.
Sweden and Finland lodged a joint application to join NATO just weeks after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The alliance welcomed Finland earlier this month, but Sweden's application has yet to be approved by NATO members Turkey and Hungary. Ankara has accused Sweden of harbouring groups it considers pro-Kurdish terrorists, which Sweden denies. Since the NATO application, Kurdish groups in Sweden have staged anti-Turkish demonstrations, protesting any deal with what they call a fascist government in Turkey. But Sweden's Prime Minister said he hoped next month's presidential elections in Turkey could mark a turning point.
Now we're waiting for the Turkish elections. I think everyone realizes that there is a substantial role in this, which is about Turkish domestic politics, and that is fully understandable. That's how it is in most countries.
Sweden is set to introduce a new anti-terrorism law, which it hopes will persuade Turkey to approve its NATO application. Turkey has so far given a measured response.
Of course, they have taken some steps, but they are not enough. We are expecting additional efforts in the coming period.
NATO hopes that Sweden's application is ratified in time for the alliance's annual summit in July.
It will depend more on whether, in the aftermath of the elections, irrespective of who wins, the Turkish authorities will be able to say to themselves and to the public at large that some of Turkey's expectations from Sweden have been met in terms of the implementation of that very law.
Domestic issues trump foreign policy in Turkey's election campaign, and that could benefit Sweden's NATO application, says Koşkun.
Especially now, in the aftermath of the earthquakes and the economic circumstances in Turkey, it has even decreased even more. In that sense, I don't think, as far as the public opinion is concerned, or as far as the interest of the political parties in Turkey is concerned, it's a leading topic that there is attention on. And I think that alleviates the domestic political pressure on the issue, which should facilitate a solution post-election.
Turkish opposition parties have rallied behind a single candidate, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, in an effort to unseat incumbent President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. An opposition win could benefit Sweden.
They've made it clear that they will underline Turkey's place within NATO, within the Western security architecture.
Meanwhile, Hungarian lawmakers say they are blocking Sweden's NATO bid over its recent criticism of their country's democratic credentials. Analysts say Turkey's approval of Sweden's bid would likely pressure Hungary to do the same.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met with his Swedish counterpart outside Stockholm on Wednesday, a rare visit intended to show Washington's support for Sweden's bid to join NATO.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin watches Swedish military demonstrations aboard a sleek Corvette warship in the Baltic Sea. The first visit to Sweden by a U.S. Defense Secretary in more than 2 decades. The rising interest in Swedish military might intended as a show of American support for Sweden's accession to NATO.
And to be clear, we look forward to that to happen before the summit in July. So we encourage our allies, Turkey and Hungary, to ratify Sweden's accession as soon as possible.
Swedish Defense Minister Poul Johnson said the country would only grow stronger as part of the alliance.
Sweden feels more secure now after we became invitee to NATO, and we think that we can provide the alliance with strategic depth and make it also better and more effective ways also in order to show deterrence and defense, not at least when it comes to the Baltic states and then Finland.
Sweden has military caves and a myriad of islands scattered across the Baltic Sea, important assets for defending NATO allies in the region should an adversary like Russia attack.
So if that ever came to such a scenario, you'd want the NATO alliance to have the upper hand in the Baltic Sea. And for that reason, Sweden's, position is central.
Sweden and neighboring Finland, which became a NATO member earlier this month, asked to join the alliance after watching Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine. Analysts say Russia hoped to fracture the alliance, but NATO allies and partners who hope to soon become allies say the alliance is stronger than ever. Carla Babb, VOA News, Moscow Naval Base, Sweden.
The skeleton of a giant Tyrannosaurus rex, a creature that roamed the earth 67 million years ago, sold for $6.13 million in Zurich on Tuesday. It is the first time in Europe and the third time worldwide that an entire T-Rex skeleton of exceptional quality has been offered at auction.
Zum zweiten und zum dritten Mal. Ich danke vielmals.
It was a fearsome creature which roamed the planet some 67 million years ago. Now, the remains of this T-Rex have been sold for over $6 million in an auction that sparked worldwide interest.
Interests are around the world. So we have somebody who is interested from the Far East. We have European people, they are interested in that. The whole globe speak about this auction.
The 3.9-metre-high skeleton, nicknamed Trinity, was sold to a private European collector. It was put up for sale by an anonymous US individual before being flown from Arizona to Switzerland for auction. As hinted at by its name, Trinity's skeleton was built from the bones of 3 different dinosaurs. Plaster and resin casts were used to complete the rest of the structure. Some experts, including paleontologist Thomas Holtz, have expressed concerns that auctions like these could limit researchers' access to such specimens. But Collar Auctions, who sold the dinosaur, claims that museums currently hold 95% of T-Rexes.
The first idea was to make copies for museums for 2 reasons. The first is to be able to disseminate the image of this T-Rex, and the second is to make the investment worthwhile since it costs quite a lot of money.
This is just the 3rd time that a T-Rex skeleton has been put on auction. The other 2 models, named Sue and Stan, sold for $8.4 million and $31 million respectively in 1998 and 2020.
As Zimbabwe celebrated its Independence Day on Tuesday, President Emmerson Mnangagwa said the country's economy was improving, but a World Bank report released this month said that while Zimbabwe's poverty levels are declining, they remain elevated.
Zimbabwe President Emmerson Mnangagwa led celebrating the 3rd anniversary of the country's independence from Britain, urging citizens to remain united as the economy is on the mend. He added that his government has implemented high-impact, life-changing projects to lift Zimbabweans out of poverty and into prosperity.
It is encouraging that inflationary pressures continue to ease due to a combination of fiscal consolidation and the tight monetary policy measures. The notable expansion, productivity, and the profitability of entities across all sectors of our economy have seen our country recording highest GDP growth in our region.
But a few kilometers away is Florence Makashem, who sells sweet potatoes to support her 5 children. She wants Mnangagwa's government to take action.
We are resolved that commodities prices in our shops should be reduced. School fees keep going up. We get calls from schools informing us of increases in fees. Those are the major issues we cry about.
A World Bank report released in April 2023 said poverty levels remain elevated, although they are declining. John Maketo heads programs at Zimbabwe Coalition on Debt and Development, a pro-socio-economic justice NGO. He says skewed policies favoring the elite are to blame for the ongoing poverty.
When you have got such a situation where policies are not people-centric, the end result is actually that you have the majority of the population, tangled in poverty.
He added that because of Zimbabwe's huge public debt, the country is unable to get new lines of credit, resulting in little investment in employment to reduce poverty. That has affected people like Florence Makashem, who lives in poverty.
It's 29 minutes after 7. We've come to the end of our international news. After the break, we'll be talking about the benefits of a borehole with Emandini Boreholes, a marketing manager.
Pay your TV license quickly and easily with MTN Momo. Simply dial *007 *3 hash and select option 8 for TV license. Enter your national ID number as your reference and the amount you wish to pay. Then enter your PIN to confirm your payment. Once your payment has been made, you'll receive a confirmation SMS of your payment. If you're a first-time payer, you get another SMS for your TV license. So legalize your entertainment from the comfort of your home. Pay your TV license the easy and convenient way with MTN Momo.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Njalo ke ngabolesine sikhulumisana nebaka Emandini Boreholes basijoyina ke nalomuhla njengoba seyigabancile insimbi yesikhombisa sijoyinwa nguye head of marketing Balindile Masilela lo hlala phansi nami kusikhumbuta nje umbukeli ngemisebenzi yabo bang Emandini Boreholes. I think Balindile ngisakuvusela nje kuseni ngitawufuna ukuthi ucale ngako sabavusela babukeli kubakhumbuta ngecompetition lo event last week because it has awesome prizes saseke siyangena kumnyombo wenza abala umuhla kunjani vele lomhlekuseni?
Ngiyaphila sisa. So last week bengikhulume competition ukuthi umfuto wina i-survey lo worth 3,000 wina le survey high le mali. Cela kuhlukanisa lapho. So jimangidalana nje i-team yami beyisho ukuthi ngifike ngisho ukuthi ama-questions esiwapostile online ka-Facebook akhona, so uma ufuthi vele aphendule khona afolloweshe ama-instructions la khona labekiwe lapha, and then they can stand a chance to win a survey worth 3,000.
Yeah, I want to take a few moments within our interview now, engager to try and look up those questions, and perhaps it's gonna put up on the screen, or we can engage now, me and you. But sisangena sachubeka na indzaba lamuhla. Ngifuna singene indzaba yokuthi yini i-groundwater vele ngoba we always take this opportunity to teach my viewers ngayo the whole phenomenon ye-borehole innovation. What is groundwater, Balindile?
Masikhuluma nge-groundwater sikhuluma ngala mandi leswatfola elitsheni lakho leliqinile. Siqale-ke sigubhe lo mhlabathi wakho lothambile ngale lwimi lema-borehole sikubita lokho ngale rimming. Mawufika kuleli tshe lakho lothambile kuba nemifombo ema-veins ngeSiswati bathi mfombo. La kule mifombo yakho kuyahlukana-ke ngetindzawo ukuthi udevelophe kanganani lo mfombo wakho. Etindzaweni nje njengabo Hawane ungakhanza ukuthi uthi mawufika kuleli tshe lakho ushaya umfombo wekucala nalo wesibili ukuniketa emanti lamaningi, uthi ngekuya ngekwehla uchubeke ukuniketa emanti lamaningi, unlike tindzaweni njengabo Mdzimba nabo Mpholonjeni khanza ukuthi le mifombo yakhona isangakadevelophi kahle ekuthenini ukuthi ingakuniketa emanti lamaningi njengasetindzaweni tabo Hawane. So basically ngilelo groundwater, it's not surface water but it's groundwater. Ngeke uzwabone ngemehlo, but it's not vele siwagubhe siwakhokhe siwadonse from underneath.
Ikhona indlela yoku-identify lapho khona atashasha atfolakale khona noma the process has to be seen during the process?
It has to be seen during the process because tinema surveyor, it's only about kuti okay lo mfombo wakho utohamba lana, but kuti sitawaphola nini, how soon, how late sitawaphola nini, lokho kutodetermine ukuthi maseyigubha le truck because ngendeka lo mfombo wakho ukhashane and le rimming yakho itaba yinza lama mitha akhona.
Balindile ngiyake nginake nje nasiticocela sibantfu noma sendlula tindzawo leticishe tifane nematete ubona kunemantana lapha uva umuntu wathi hey lana kungaba kahle ukuthi ngakhe khona ibhoholi ingasheshe ingavela ilunge lapho. Is that inkhomba yendvele ukuthi emanti angasheshe atfolakale?
I can't really say inkhomba ngoba that surface water sekavele avelile kanti kule borehole sisuke sifuna lamanti lale ngephansi kule litshe leliqinile, so that lokuthi sifune lamanti lale ngephansi lelitshe leliqinile so that utoba ne-reservoir leningi. Kanti ngendeka uthi nalendzawo yakho ilitete ukhanza ukuthi ebusika iyasha, ngendeka vele uthi nangimalinawo ukhanza indzawo elitete mase ubuya-ke ebusika sekude emanti. So letinfo leto nje sidibaleka for ukuthi sigubhe underground.
I guess kuyasita ngoba nje shothi bekuyimithi. It's been a mix sokudemystifyile. Asikhulume ngendzaba yawo lama benefits eborehole. I think lokho ngidabo hlala singikukhulumisa ngako. I think it's very important, especially knowing the capacity lohleli ngayo lapho esitulo leso. Talk to me about the benefits of a borehole.
Iborehole imfele kumnanzi ngayo nje kwekucala kumnanzi nje ubone emanti ekhaya lathi wele wena nje ubone ukuthi kude lotokukalela ukuthi wasebenzisa kanganani uyathi ukuthi wabhadalela kanye atokulasta impilo yakho yonke, as it is a lifetime investment. And it is less costly because iborehole akudzingakala ukuthi ngenyanga ukhokhe ama-municipality cost ukuthi sobhadala emanti ukhokhe imali engako ubhadala emanti ukuthi angene ekhaya. And lenye info lenhle kakhulu ngeborehole ukuthi it's less polluted, which is akangcoli kakhulu with coming with health benefits lamaningi, unlike emanti lotowaphola emfuleni khanzi sekungene imfuyo ngekhathi emfuyeleni yavusa lokuthide yenda lokuthide the move la ngehla wakho uyawasha wena la ngendasi sokhe emanti. So timfo leto nje very beneficial when it comes to groundwater because it's healthy and it's more reliable.
What are some of Emma shortages or Emma complications that one may want to anticipate? Ngibutiswa ukuthi masibuka the general supply of water, lengathi ebaga water. Kuba khona lapho khona emanti ake aphele khona. Asasephelile athi nakabuya abuya ngcolile for a while. I don't know, maybe again it's an advantage kusloka kwendeki angathi. Ngicela ukuthi ngicacisele again, should we expect into lefana nale?
Yes, kuyenteka nje khanze ukuthi eMandi movement city siyagubha khanze ukuthi akasheshi ahlobe. And then bese sekuthangala ukuthi sifake certain material ukuthi ahlobe lawa mandla. But as sisagubha si make sure ukuthi we leave you with irreservoir learning. That's why lesinye isikhathi advise my clients futhi no eMandi akho maning when uyawabona but sicala ukuthi sichubeke sehle siyendazi sitokutfolela emali latakulasta impilo yakho yendeke ukuthi emandi akho wapholile for 5 years sekaphinze ashile.
Yeah.
Yes.
So kahle kuvame ukuba kuma initial stages complications lawo akwendeki eMandi sonawo njengalokwethu ukuthi nje mina ngithi ibhohole eMandi ahlangiphelela nakabuya sakabuya ngcolile phinza be kahle
no kusangabi ne scenario le kanjalo.
I guess that's another added advantage of kukuba ne borehole. Yeah, Balindile, I've been trying to look up, I'm on my phone because I'm trying to look up the questions on the internet. I'm struggling, but perhaps in your capacity, you're the head of marketing and communications. Talk to me about these questions. I shouldn't be going on the internet. Now, internet now, you are the walking encyclopedia. I've seen my questions. Okay, as you do that, maybe you can talk to me about how Kubane Bohol will increase property value.
Mangikhuluma ukuthi iBohol increase property value. First of all nje ekhaya wazwafaka iBohol seyinyukele property value yakho in terms of ukuthi eMandi ahlala khona and agricultural wise iBohol it's for bamfu nje labalimako it's very beneficial kibo because bayakhona ukunisela sinoma ikhanze seba produce timfe letiningi tibhifo letiningi and leto tibhifo bayakhona ukutithengisa ubuyisa imali phinze ekhaya and phinze umuntu lothengisa indzawo once angafaka iBohol umuntu uyathi ukuthi tokhona ngeda i-cost yalendzawo imali zeyitonyuka unlike umuntu lothengisa indzawo leti iBohol. Yes.
As you look into Lama questions, you have highlighted that iBohol is an asset.
Yes.
I think you've also touched on Guti increase kanjani property value. I want you to keep looking for your questions. Sophie go downstairs. Okay, Sophie. Okay, please just give us Lama questions now so that umbukele makaya ngoba nangabe competition.
To be prepared.
Yeah.
Yes. So our first question. Okay, taba nema instructions for my hashtag. But our first question is, what price is our special currently running on?
Okay.
Yes, and then the second one, where can you find Emandini Boholes? And the third one, it's name 3 services provided by Emandini Boholes.
Okay, so first one is what price is your special currently running on?
Yes.
Second one, where can you find Emandini Boholes?
And then the third one, name 3 services provided by Emandini.
Okay. I think we've come to the end of our conversation, Lomuhla. I was noting down these questions so that the next week can just it's nothing again. How long is this competition running for?
It's going to currently we are running for 3 months.
Okay. And one winner.
Yes.
One ultimate winner.
Yes.
Balindile, thank you so much for joining us. Kuba kumbuta je tinombolo teno for consultations. Please remind them tinombolo teno as Emandini Boholes. Okay, no, it's fine. I think because we do have a graphic, sitawuzama ukuthi sitifake 7963-5367 as well as 7971-0130. Emandini Boholes, borehole drilling. You can request for a quote through Leti Nombolo Leto. Thank you so much, Balindile, for joining us. Sitabathulet Magete, uma sibuya sikhulumisa indzaba lengdzaba mlonyeni challenge yabangizaba mlonyeni even la South Africa, and then it spread like wildfire ke ngetindzaba tabo internet nalokuthi nje sindvo sayo lendzaba throughout the whole world indzaba ya Thabo Bester naNandipha Magudumane. Everyone should know about that story, but singena kuye emathunjini umasibuya ku break. Don't go anywhere.
why should we pay our TV license?
The content on our local television is actually more up to date. The industry is enhanced.
It is a criminal offense not to pay your TV license and attracts a fine of 500 emalangeni or 6 months imprisonment.
And the industry is definitely blooming, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we have for you. But we'll be right back just after the break, and we'll give you more of Miss V.
Pay my TV license. That's why I can enjoy the benefits of an enhanced industry and keep track with recent transformation.
Mommy, who paid for a TV license and what are they paying for?
The owners of TV set and gadget with a tuner like DVD set have to pay.
Pay your TV license at NetBank with the details provided on screen. Or use your cell phone via the mobile money pay. You could also visit your nearest post office and pay there. Pay your TV license via Eswatini mobile imali. Any TV device retailer can purchase a license to trade. Pay your TV license and enhance the industry.
Welcome back. South African authorities took over management of a maximum security prison. A private British security firm. Glanzela, a high-profile convicted murderer that was accused of faking his own death in Mlilweni, then escaping the prison to live in the open with his celebrity doctor girlfriend. He was deported to South Africa by Tanzanian authorities after being arrested in the border town of Arusha, having apparently fled the country, according to a media briefing by the South African Justice Minister and Minister of Police, Begicele. This comes as media reports prison fire where he was said to have died. It's still a bizarre story, Lungelele. It has embarrassed South Africa. It has exposed alleged loopholes in the management of a private prison and captivated the nation with every blockbuster revelation.
Ngiyonza bamlonyeni ke lena sibonke wonke mvuje khuluma ngayo khona South Africa and of course emhlabeni wonke jikelele. The 35-year-old convicted murderer was arrested with his girlfriend Dr. Nandipha Magudumana and a Mozambican national named Zakaria Alberto. South African Police Minister Begicele utshele reporters ukuthi laba labathathu had several passports each that had not been stamped and were just 10 kilometers from crossing into Kenya. Thabo Bester ke wathunyelelwa eKhosi Mampuru Central Maximum Prison Pretoria lapho khona he will be closely watched. We are placing a 24/7 surveillance on him kusho ngamagama a minister agelana, and also vedele ukuthi vele batamgaza kakhulu and batawusebenzisa highly trained correctional services officials to ensure that whatever circumstances he finds himself in, they'll be on call and they will not experience any security breach. Department of South Africa Correctional Services mphathi wayo Boss Mahoti itobakale kuvetwe nguye konke lokho.
Magudumana ke lo dokotela le girlfriend yakhe Thabo Bester was also deported to Tanzania and named as an accomplice. She was arrested and will be charged with a murder, fraud, as well as aiding and abetting his escape. Magudumana's 65-year-old father, Lewatiwa Ngelazolile Cornelius Sekeleni, and a former prison warden, Sinohe Ishmael Matsowara luneminyaka ke lengemashumi lamathathu nalesiphohlongo, were also arrested and accused of being accomplices in Bester's escape. Lababili were charged with defeating the ends of justice, fraud, murder, and arson. They did not enter a plea and have no lawyers on record. Lungelela, I think yinzaba lena lengatfusi South Africa kuphela njengoba Bester nyalo so sentenciwe to life in prison in 2012 for the rape and murder of model Nomfundo Julu. Uyakhumbula, it was about 2012 nabathi life in prison, but ukhonile escape waphinza wabuyela lokuthusa kakhulu. But a court it was previously found Thabo Bester was found guilty of a rape and robbery of 2 other women where lawa lerisha to his home nge-social media latingcingweni. So bantu kufuna bayichapheleleyo kakhulu lapha eveni lakangwane ngoba letinto leti ngasitintfo lesetiba normal. Kanti-ke kuyavela ukuthi Thabo Bester bekathi unelikhaya lelihle kakhulu la social media lapho khona abrifa khona ne-media. He was initially reported to have died in a fire at the prison last May, but in November the official position by South African prison authorities that Bester had been found dead in his cell began to unravel after a local investigative outlet Ground-Up's reporting raised doubts. Authorities gabe se conclude ekutheni Bester Lomtimba that was found dead in the cell bekungasuye Thabo Bester, and the person had died before the fire began. But a case of murder is under investigation following the outcome of the DNA analysis. Leya confirm ukuthi Lomtimba akusuye vele wa Thabo Bester. Lokho kushiwo ngemaphoyisa and the Justice and Correctional Services Ministry bakusho emgcibelo evikini leliphelile basaqhubeka nekwenda yona le investigation. Ne autopsy ke report lekhona that went on to further reveal that the deceased had died as a result of blunt force trauma to the head. Bakubita ngekuthi trauma induced break, and he was already dead prior to the arson incident, it added.
Yeah, it was cool, especially because I think being born on social media, a lot of people have been following the story Lesisa Thabo Bester and Dr. Nandipa Makudumana. I think says kwakiwenema memes ngago. Labanye sebaza bahlekisa with the clothing they were wearing, the jackets, especially because yi brand name lenkulu lena leyati wako Nike. Sekune khulu manje ukuthi bamfu labanengi vele abasayifuni Nike noma labanye sebathi khande sebayothenga kakhulu la ma jackets Nike. And also the DCS last month said Bester appeared to have walked out of the facility in a well-calculated and organized escape. Debekling le mvula bayishoka social media ukuthi lo mvulana akazanga escape wavela nje, he just walked out of the prison ngalokuthi vele ku involved bantu labakhulu kulesigameko lesi. And also it temporarily took over the management of the prison from the British company G-Force and suspended 3 of its own officials. Greatly worrying is the fact that a private vehicle was allowed inside the facility without a gate pass on the day of the escape, as possibly carrying an unknown body that was burnt beyond recognition in cell 35. This also talks to a facility that has compromised its security system beyond any reasonable doubt. Logo statement esishiwo DCS head of department. Kanti ke lokuvela futhi ukuthi 3 officials alenkapani G-Force were pressed by lawmakers on Wednesday to explain how Bester escaped from a maximum security prison they had described as one of the most secure in South Africa. Though they deny any wrongdoing, they say 3 employees who were on duty have been dismissed and 7 more remain suspended. 22-page report presented alongside the G-Force officials' appearance before the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services said unauthorized phone and laptops were recovered in Bester's cell after the fire. Bester's application to be moved to solitary confinement because his life was in danger had been approved just 3 days before he escaped. And also kuyabonakala ukuthi bamfla bakhulu were involved in this kusukela letulu kuba minister ama politicians nabo baphathi belijele nabo laba benkampani G-Force because beyange yakhona vele ku escape nje kungabi nebamfla bakhulu kangaka laba be involved.
But njengoba ushilo nje kulungelela ukuthi the biggest question yalo is how did he manage to escape ngoba lo muntu uvukile waboshwa. He was sentenced to life in prison. Lokuphuma kwakhe sishilo nasicala ukuthi kuvete ema loopholes lamanengi ku justice system nekuveta ukuthi lo muntu ngathi has ama-connections la strong kakhulu. But I think within the developments nje kunayile nshale seyingenile, I think ingene elangeni la itolo ntambama. It adds to nayilo ishilo yeba 3 investigators, I mean ema 3 officials la investigatwago. Kuthiwa ke another one has been arrested in the case involving yena Thabo Bester lo Facebook rapist. Kuthiwa ke South African media has reported that a security guard of the G4S, the Mangaung Prison and Private Prisons Company, is set to appear in court for allegedly aiding Bester to escape from prison. According to this online publication, the 51-year-old man arrested on Tuesday at the Mangaung Correctional Center in Bloemfontein is expected to appear in court, Magistrate Court, Lomuhla. So we will be, following that story. Kuva ukuthi baba bopha kangakanani laba lese kutholakala ukuthi basifakile isandla ekubambiseni
I think something interestingly, he comment on social media, it's possible that this person, Thabo Bester, abesolo apuma in and out of prison even before the escape.
Yeah.
That's possible. Skill ngasho kanjalo. I think basho kanjalo ukuthi bangathi lo mvulana vele une skill uyakhona ukuconvinceana ukuthi wende le mvula afuna ukuthi uyenda. I mean, just look at Dr. Nandipa, her career down the train just because of this guy.
Dokotela Lebega self-achieved. She didn't need any more money coming from Thabo Bester. But Lulu njengoba usho ukuthi lo muntu bekaphila kahle lona, he really did have big connections within the justice system. Now, on the day that he escaped, how is it coincidental ukuthi camera angasebenzi ukhomba ukuthi ubaleka kanjani? But again, to your point where ukuthi bekaphila kahle, we have seen a video la surfacile online lamkhombisako having a jowl in the prison and a camera phone, and nakhona le selfie camera yakhe is even better than my phone.
He even had a laptop.
He probably had an iPhone 14 Pro Max, who knows, and a MacBook Pro, running these properties on Facebook, these fake properties. Labathe naba investigator nyalo. Some of the photos bekati post anakalutsa lamantombatane tithombe lo tithola ngisho kubo Pinterest njengawe nje uthi ungathatha sithombe sendlule enhlela kangwane noma usithathe kubo Pinterest wakhe Facebook page bese ubhalela bosisi uthi hayi mina naku, this is my property, I can take you there, this is the car that I drive. Lapho ke ngiloko ngithusa kakhulu leti moto lebekathi uyatshayela vele bekatshayela. There are victims laphumile ukuthi oh mina vele wangigibeta Porsche. He took me out on a date. He took me out in a Range Rover. Driving outside without a license, again, that's a question. With the justice system, no license all these years, driving all these luxury cars. I think it's very, I think the religions are Naumbuga uyini yena ngoba
uyashintsha in all his photos, and I think because I've been also following this story.
Ngathi wakanzinisa nje Naumbuga, but you never know, and then he comes back, he looks like some guy from India. Ngathi wakamsonera la yabona ukuthi letibongo takhe tiyashintsha. But then again, it is a very interesting story, Lungelele. We will follow it. It is not interesting in the sense that it's glamorous. It is interesting in the sense that there are so many questions.
I think another important thing, the latest minister, MPs, Parliament, request ukuthi Thabo Bester must have a DNA test to prove ukuthi vele is actually his mom, because nasbuka vele history yakhe nalokulese ku revealekile unemanga kakhulu, so it's highly possible naloko ukuthi vele nayo lo make bambhadele ukuthi asho ukuthi unguma kwa Thabo Bester, and they could have cooked up documents, certificates, like
anything.
Yeah, so bashito ukuthi vele akwende le DNA test vele ukuthi ascertain ukuthi yes, that is Thabo Bester's mom.
Yeah, 2 minutes before 8 lomuhla ekseni inzaba ya Thabo Bester inzaba lesine interest kuyo njengamhlaba wonke, not just ukuthi it is an interesting story, everyone's talking about it. Some of these things society needs to know so that they can take and make better decisions, especially young girls on social media. Lese baba ma victims gamelula sifike maphethelweni lihlelo. Thank you for joining us lomhla elihlelweni Lungelele.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. You can watch this episode of Kusile Breakfast Show on YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.
Let's live it up in party.
party and have cracking good fun. When it comes to edutainment, DSTV's #1.
Is everybody ready to go?
We've got the zaniest characters to transport you away. The party is cracking, so why not come play? You're gonna love it. We've got so many channels and a ton of new shows, like Disney and Nickelodeon, where anything goes. So live it up with DSTV. We bring the fun. You know we're #1.
Mbukela sikuvusele sikwemukela ehlelweni tasephalamende lapha emsakadweni wetithombe Eswatini TV kunguye lesithathu libito lami ngingisamkelisiwe ngwakakhoza nginaye Mbongwa Dube. Kanzi lo muhla mbukeli lapha ehlelweni nesabe silapha endlini yetimphunga lapho khona indvuna itiko letempilo lizinkosi itawetfula umbiko embiko likomiti libike kusebenza kwaletiko khona endlini yetimphunga kusile litiko lisebenze njani kumnyaka timali wahulumende wa 2022-2023. Kanzi mbukeli lesikhathi samanje sawuvele singene khona endlini yetimphunga lapho khona indvuna itawetfula lelikomiti lehloniphekile sandvulelo sayo.
Imitholampilo kusho sibhedlela nemitholampilo yonke lekhona lapha eveni in 327. Kuthi ke na ungabuka le mabhukwini ahulumende ukuthi kufanele ngabe tingakhi tisebenzi tempilo kusho se ema positions la khona abang 5018 la established. Kodwa ke kulomnyaka lesuka kuwo besine sinetisebenti leting 4544 lapho lawo ma positions agcwele khona bese kusala ema positions lang 474 lasengakagcwaliswa. Kulawa lasele sihlalo kuna 10 wabodokotela nabodokotela bematinyo bese kuba na 141 lesikubita singema allied health professionals lapho sikhuluma ngema technologies ku laboratory sikhuluma ngabo radiologists sikhuluma ngalabenta I rehabilitation sikhuluma ngabo bonke labanye laba outside na icategory yabo dokotela sikhuluma ngayo bese kuba na 95 wabo nurse nema midwives kube na 228 ku 228 kufaka naba baka environmental health labasibukela tifo letiba la ku environment noma labasita usisivikele tifo letitemoyeni emandini ekudleni nako konke lokhu environment yethu nalabo ke laba